All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Calvet's Justice Involved Veteran Services Lifecycle webinar presented by CalTAP. My name is Philip Leggett, and next to me is my coworker, Pernell Sullivan. We are both mental health healthcare coordinators for Calvet, and it's a pleasure to be working with other service providers to help our justice involved veterans. Before we get started, just some housekeeping rules. If you're not presenting, please have your microphone and video features off. And if you have any questions during the webinar, please use the chat feature. And we will also have time at the end of the presentation for a Q&A session. All right. Today, we will discuss and explain the life cycle of incarcerated veterans, and we will have subject matter experts from each of the services to explain exactly how the program supports justice-involved veterans. On today's panel, we welcome Sarah Whitley. She'll explain the Veterans Justice Outreach Program. Next up will be Susan Adams. She will explain the healthcare for reentry for veterans. After that, we'll have George Dixon. He's from the Los Angeles County Veterans Service Office, and he'll provide information on how they help out incarcerated veterans and justice-involved veterans. After that, we'll have Liz Hargrove, Washington. She'll explain her program, and she's coming from the Calvet District Office. She'll talk about how her program, they actually go inside the prisons and talk to the veterans on a one-on-one basis. After that, we'll have Devon Hilliard from the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. After that, we'll have Ben Gales. He'll describe his local interagency network coordinator program and services. And finally, we'll wrap it up with Derek Rose, and he'll discuss the California Transition Assistance Program. Next up will be Pernell Sullivan, and he will talk to you about the Incarcerated Veterans Services Lifecycle.
Good morning, everyone. So today we'll be talking about, like Phil said, he kind of gave you the lineup of everyone that will be speaking today. What this is that you're looking at right now is the Incarcerated Veterans Service Life Cycle. Now, we all know that it doesn't always happen in this exact form, but this is something that we could use as a guideline. So, we have first starting off our VJOs and our healthcare for reentry veterans to kind of talk about their role in how everybody assists veterans throughout this cycle. After that will be like I said, the Calvet DOs, so our district offices, and how they help everyone and talk to those veterans to get them that information that they need to come out to get the services. And then we have the CDCR. They talk about their role also and how that's played throughout that process. Next would be the Calvet POs and how they're assisting the incarcerated veterans and also working with these other factions that we talked about here in order to help those veterans receive the benefits and services. And most important too is the referrals. So how are these veterans, that are incarcerated veterans, finding out about these benefits and services? And what is that basically the point where we can reach them and let them know about all the things that are out there for them. So we have multiple things, anything from restarting their apportionment to finding out about college tuition fee waivers to also, helping start the claim process and kind of understanding that. I think the overall purpose for today's webinar is to learn how everybody contributes and to create contacts to make that an easier process for not only our service providers, but also our veterans. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to our first speaker. Sarah. Yep, there you go.
I had to unmute. Hi, I'm Sarah Whitley. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be a part of this. I'm what we call a VJO, which stands for the Veteran Justice Outreach Program. There's 5 of us in the VA Northern California healthcare system. So we cover multiple counties throughout Northern California, from Contra Costa, Solano, Yolo, Sacramento, Amador. We just added Nevada County. So a wide area, and then many more rural counties, further north, Butte County and Shasta, all up in there. So we provide a wide range of services to veterans who are having contact with the criminal justice system. So there's different points of, I guess, engagement. The three branches kind of that we work in is the jails, the courts, and also with law enforcement. So, like the title says, Veteran Justice Outreach, a large, main area that we work is in the county jails, doing outreach there, identifying veterans who may not be linked to VA services. They may not know they're even entitled to VA services. And, we're part of the homeless programs. So a large part is identifying veterans who are incarcerated and working to provide housing and program placement upon release to not just release back into homelessness. So, we're working with the jails to increase collaboration. The Sacramento County jails have put in a free speed dial that the veterans can call, make a free phone call, and it rings to my cell phone. So that's a really, really great feature, because they can call, ask questions. I can identify, what their needs are, if they're linked to services. The VA doesn't provide any, mental health or medical care while a veteran is incarcerated, but us VJOs can certainly do an assessment and, work on a release plan. So that's part of it with the jail outreach. We can coordinate with the jails too. If somebody, if we're notified that somebody gets arrested, we can send, a medication list, or, help to, kind of intervene when needed also. The other piece is the court system. So we get a lot of calls, a lot of veterans reaching out because they got arrested, they got a DUI or domestic violence charge, wide variety of different charges. So we work with them to identify where they are, in the process, help them to obtain needed documents, maybe a DD 214, or get them enrolled in the VA healthcare system, or see if they're even eligible. And then we work with the attorneys to provide a letter about their healthcare eligibility, if they've had any past treatment, a service-connected disability, military service dates, all those types of things. So we work closely with the attorneys, and largely the attorneys do identify and refer veterans. Sometimes they may be, arrested, but then, right out of jail and released. So they may not be spending a lot of time in jail, but they have an upcoming court. And I think especially the Sacramento Public Defender's Office, they really do work hard to identify veterans and refer them to use the penal codes that the courts use. I have been told on their identification forms or data that, it's like one of the very first questions, are you a veteran? So I think there's been improvement there. With the courts, there's two penal codes that apply to veterans. The Diversion Penal Code, which is the 1001.80. It's typically the misdemeanor charges. It's a diversion, so it's pre-plea, but it follows like a treatment program in that The veteran will be participating in treatment monitored by the court, typically a minimum of 1 year. And with successful completion, they dismiss the charge. It doesn't go on their record. So that's similar to the other penal code, which is the 1170.9 that applies to veterans. And these penal codes basically say that a veteran experienced something while in the military that could be related to their current legal problem. Therefore, they should, essentially have the opportunity to participate in treatment in an effort to reduce recidivism versus just jail time. So with the 1170.9, that one is typically for felonies. It is a post plea, meaning the veterans have to plead to their charge. They also participate in treatment following any and all recommended treatment, to address any mental health, substance abuse, TBI types of problems. And then again, with their successful completion, being monitored by the court, being on probation, reporting to court, participating in treatment, then the record is sealed or expunged or dismissed, depending on what the legal charges are. It's always something that, the attorneys kind of figure out. And with both programs, they dismiss all fees and fines associated as well. So it's a big benefit to the veterans, except in cases of restitution. If restitution's owed, they're still responsible for that. So there's, case management with each of these programs. We try to link with employment services, housing, residential treatment. We link to appropriate outpatient treatment programs, both within the VA and outside of the VA. I'm kind of rambling here. I don't have any screen PowerPoint changes. So
Sarah, if I could just interject, if you wanted me to navigate through your slides, feel free to just say next slide, and I can go ahead and click that for you.
Okay, see, I missed the dry run, so I apologize. So can I just scroll these, or I'm not sure? Okay, there we go.
Of course, no problem.
Okay, so I kind of touched on some of these. So if you could just go back real quick, though, I just wanted to mention where the VGOs are. We're missing just one, Sherry Delisle, who does cover, what is she covering now? El Dorado County, Placer County, and the federal court. So I just wanted to mention that because we do have 5, and we're all very busy and engaged. Okay, you can do the next slide, and then I'll just go through and see what I can't figure out.
Sure, that was kind of the end with the contact information. And I apologize for throwing you off here, but so this was your first transitional slide.
Okay.
And then rolled into the actual services and referrals, case management, and then the eligibility. Yes.
Well, the eligibility, I try not to get too involved with that. I have a great contact person in Oakland that I always ask questions to. I send the full social and say, help me out with this. You never really know. The general guideline is, after a certain date in 1980, the veteran had to serve for 2 years to be VA healthcare eligible. But there are exceptions to that. So I always go to the eligibility office to figure out with them if a veteran is eligible for VA healthcare. And then I also work with our homeless VBA rep, Kenny Dyson, to work to see if there's a service connection or, something that would entitle the veteran to VA healthcare, even with not enough time served or because of discharge status. But the courts do still have veterans participate in the treatment programs, even with a other than honorable discharge status or not enough time served. It's just that the veteran would have to get their treatment provided through community resources. And actually, the adult system of care for Sacramento County is covering the costs of veterans who are in our veteran treatment courts to be able to do the outpatient program without having to pay. So that's been a really great collaboration to help those vets who can't be getting their treatment in the VA. Okay. Next, or tell me how to do it. Okay, there's the contacts again. Best thing is veterans have any questions, just reach out to any of us, just give us a call and, we'll figure out, what the needs are, how we can, assist in referring or resources or anything like that. Next. Oh, and that was it for me?
That's it for you, Sarah. So.
Oh, well, I was having such a good time talking about our program.
It's okay.
I'll just wait around and see if there's any questions because I'm sure I missed some things, but thank you.
It's okay. Apologize for the technical issues there, but yeah, we're just going to facilitate the question and answers at the end. So if you just wanted to stick around, and then we'll go back to those questions as they come in. So thank you so much, Sarah. Really appreciate it. All right, so at this time, we would like to turn it over to Susan Adams with the Healthcare for Reentry Veterans Program. Susan, are you with us this morning?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Susan, thank you.
Good morning. I'm Susan Adams. I'm the Southern California Hcrv Coordinator from the Federal Department of Veterans Affairs. Hcrv stands for Healthcare for Reentry Veterans. It's a program which falls under the Veterans Health Administration. And in California, it includes VISN 21 and 22. Next. Okay, next. Okay, our Hcrv team in California covers 3 regions. We cover the entire state. So the southern region is from Kern County south and is serviced by myself and Jonathan Clark. Jonathan Clark is a VJO Hcrv hybrid specialist out of West LA. The northern region covers Tulare County north and is serviced by the Hcrv specialist Kim Pearson. And then we have a northeast region, which is covered by Pat Merrill, who's out of our Reno VA, and that includes Sacramento and Susanville areas. Okay, next. All of our Veterans Justice Programs and specialists are listed on the internet. Here's the website, but you can just punch in Hcrv or VJO, Veterans Justice Program, VJP, and it'll bring you right up to that. As discussed earlier, it starts with VJO. The Veterans Justice Program has 2 parts, the Veterans Justice Outreach Program, which is the jails, the courts, as Sarah explained, and jail outreach. Then we, if the veteran has gone through court and is incarcerated in state or federal prison, the veterans transfers over to the Hcrv program. And our goals are to ensure continuity of care while incarcerated and to promote success and prevent homelessness among veterans who are returning home after being in prison. Okay, next. To identify veterans, the VA and CDCR utilize VRSS, which is the Veterans Reentry Search Service. What it is our 2 computers talk to each other and they spit out who are veterans and who are, and what it does is for CDCR, it identifies the person as a veteran. And for us in the Department of Veterans Affairs, it shares all the information that is necessary for us to be able to assist the veteran. So we can actually identify eligibility from the VRSS system. We also, as Hcrv specialists, identify veterans during in-person visits in our educational, and then when we visit the veterans group. Unfortunately, not all veterans are picked up in the VRSS system. It goes by social security number and it's a match, but we find they're incorrect or they're not listed, different reasons for not picking them up. So the Hcrv specialist says all veterans. So eligibility for our services, we help all veterans but dishonorably discharged. So those veterans that are eligible for VA health care are linked to medical, mental health, substance use disorder, social work programs, housing, employment. They have a little bit more than the other than honorables. And eligibility for VA health care, what it does require is prior to September 7th, 1980, all veterans that served are eligible for VA health care, as long as they have a general under honorable conditions or an honorable discharge. After September 7th, 1980, there is a minimum requirement of 2 years active duty. And they used to give, I could spend a whole day on eligibility, and I have in the prisons, but how they kind of work it is they don't give as many waivers for that date. And the reason is they did start giving like a day waiver, then it moved to 2 days, then a week, then a month. And finally, they just said, no, September 7th, 1980 is the date, and we'll use other ways to get veterans eligible. Our reservists and our National Guard, the state is actually a state military, and how we get them into our federal benefits programs is that if they are deployed beyond training. So what that means, it used to mean combat, but in our current state, we have the pandemic, we have forest fires, we have national disasters. We have a lot of reasons that veterans are in our reservists and our National Guard are deployed. So eligibility is determined through us at the Hcrv level. When we're during our visits, we have them complete the 1010 EZ. Calvets helps with it, and we also do it through correspondence. Some of the, for the other than honorable, what we do have is some of our VA transitional housing programs, we call them GPDs, are open to veterans with other than honorable discharges. It's on a space available basis. It's more difficult with those that have restrictions on their parole or probation. And, but we do give out information for community resources as well. We also have a permanent housing program that other than honorable veterans are eligible for. It's called the Ssvf Program. It's supportive services for veterans and families. And they help veterans with any type of discharge who serve beyond training, and except those with dishonorable discharges. Okay, next. So what do the Hcrv specialists provide? We do, our main job is coordinated release plans throughout California and nationwide. We coordinate with CDCR personnel that could include the correction officer ones, case managers, pre-release specialists, medical departments, mental health, parole support assistants, the TCMP, which is a contract, which is transitional case managers. They help with Medi-Cal, SSI, other state resources, and our community parole agents. We complete a thorough biopsychosocial assessment. That's so important for our veterans because we've got in the bio part, we have lots of service-connected issues. We have TBIs, that's so important to assess for that. And then we link them to services. We also provide short-term case management after release. That's generally up to 3 months. That allows them the time to get out and obtain the services. So we work with them until they get connected with a VA or one of our programs in the community. Let's see. I wanted to make sure that everyone understands we do not provide medical care while incarcerated. This is very important. It's a law. A lot of the veterans contact me and ask me for help. What I do is we do help them with continuity of care. So we get their medical records. If they sign a release of information, we make sure they get to the prison facility medical so that they can have their medications. They're getting treatment for any service connection. We also provide C&P exams, but those are diagnostic only. They are not to be used for treatment. So we don't provide any equipment or such. The other thing is we don't provide legal services or advice. That's a misnomer. Everyone hopes we do, but unfortunately we don't. We do provide resources though for legal services. We have found that a lot of our university, our law schools provide that legal service or advice that, and they step in. So we do refer often over to that. Next slide, please. So we do provide outreach to all California prisons, state and federal, at least semi-annually. I do have to tell you that some of our further out prisons like Pelican Bay, Calipatria, we have a few more, don't have too many veterans. They're very small, but we do try to get out there at least twice a year. Some of our larger prison facilities, the healthcare facilities, the psych facilities, such as in San Luis Obispo, at CMC, we get out there more often. We do education groups. We do them, they're open for veterans and staff. We have a lot of staff too that need our help. And why is that so important? Well, we need to get in there early to start them on their upgrades. They're not able to put them in the computer. Maybe they need a DD-214, they need their records, they want claims. We want to get in there early when they first get in to get them that started on this so that they can work on it. It often takes a lot of time when you're working by handwriting or they're using typewriters or that. So we want to give them a lot of time. So I can speak, I go to the veterans groups inside the prisons. We support them, we help them, we recommend, excuse me? Okay, we recommend books. And I have to tell you, I partner with Calvets, the VSOs that go in. I work with Roberto, I work with Matthew. We do these education groups together. We help the veterans groups. We can go in there and talk for hours. They have so many questions. And interesting enough, they educate us as well. They have time while they're there. They look into different things that they hear about. We go back and Google it, find out some of them are correct in things. And then we get out the information to them. The Hcrv specialists provide all the paperwork that they need. We supply them with that. The cemeteries is another important part. We don't want to see our veterans passing away in prison, but sometimes it happens. If we can get that pre-cemetery paperwork done, it's great. We also write letters of support for different boards. We have parole boards, commutation boards, compassionate release boards. We provide how they're eligible, what they're eligible for, try to help them in being able to be successful in a release. We coordinate with VBA. I work with the VBA regional offices, as do my counterparts. For debt management, that's a big issue. We're working with that as well. And as I said, we coordinate with Calvets, the VSOs for claims. They have been a wonderful addition. I'll tell you, I was so happy to meet with them. And like I said, we partner and go into the prisons together when we're able to. Next. Oh, I guess that's it. I apologize, I don't have our contact numbers on there. But like I said, you can, if you're in the CR system, you can go to your CRMs. They know us all very well, And we also have on the internet. You will find my name and I will get you through to the others. Thank you.
Hello?
Thank you, Susan. All right, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Liz Hargrove, Washington. She is with the Calvet District Office out of Oakland, California. And with that, Liz, feel free to take it away.
Thank you, Derek. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. My name is Liz Hargrove, Washington, and I work with the California Department of Veterans Affairs, also known as CDVA or Calvet. My primary area of responsibility, though, is working as a liaison between CDVA and California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation to assist incarcerated veterans get access to VA benefits and information. Next slide. One of the things I want to go over today is just give you a little bit of brief history about how our role at CDVA even came to be. As everybody here knows, California has had a large population of underserved or underrepresented veterans within CDCR who have historically had problems getting access to a veterans benefits representative, somebody that can help them get access to information about their benefits, submit claims, find out the status of previously submitted claims or appeals, or get access to benefits for their family members or dependents. To help resolve this or overcome this, back in October of 2017, California's governor signed into law California Senate Bill 776, which basically required that Calvet and California Department of CDCR cooperate and work collaboratively, in order to assist veterans get access to their benefits and find out about how to submit claims and whatnot. It actually, if you see this, look at this map here, it shows you our designated areas of jurisdiction. Basically, one of the most important things that Senate Bill 776 did was designate one representative or a liaison for every 5 prisons within CDCR. There's 35 prisons, so there's 7 of us total. And that map basically draws out our 7 different areas of responsibility for the 7 representatives. Next slide. Basically, in order to facilitate the true intent of Senate Bill 776, one of the things that needed to be accomplished was to establish the roles and responsibilities for us as liaisons and basically give us access to go into the prisons, set up meetings with the veterans, have group meetings or do whatever we needed to do to establish visibility, to establish a relationship with our veterans and be able to represent and serve them. It also basically established a need for us to work collaboratively with CDCR in order to be able to do this. One of the most important things that it did was lay down the rules and processes for us to coordinate and schedule VA CMP examinations. Okay, next slide. So basically, after much brainstorming, planning, and collaboration meetings, in August of 2019, Calvet, VA, the CDCR, and CCHCS, which is California Correctional Healthcare Services, drafted and signed a joint memorandum that laid down all these parameters and detailed our roles and responsibilities. It basically designated us, the CDVA representatives, as the primary liaisons to work between CDCR and VA to schedule examinations and facilitate all the details related to that. As you see here, it says Calvet will serve as the liaison between subcontractors, which are the examination providers, and CDCR. Calvet designated representatives will contact appropriate CDCR office based on the type of VA examinations needed, mental health or medical. We basically facilitate scheduling the examinations, whether it's for providers to go into the prisons or, depending on the nature of the examination, for the veterans to be transported out to participating VAMCs that are that allow incarcerated veterans to be transported there. Next slide. Continuing on that, it also stipulated what providers, the subcontractors could bring in, what types of tools, equipment, inventory they could bring in. It laid out rules and regulations pertaining to their communication with CCHCS. They're basically not ordered to request any labs or x-rays or any special testing. CCHCS has stipulated that they play a minimum role in the process. We basically facilitate the scheduling of the medical rooms and whatnot with our CDC, our representatives that we communicate with. The memorandum lays down the approximate time of examinations, where and when it can happen, how all that coordination takes place. Next slide. So aside from the VA examinations, which is one of the most important parts of our process, you might be wondering, how do we even establish and start the communication process with our veterans? And when we were all designated into this role, one of the first things that we did was schedule what we called meet and greet meetings with our designated representatives within the prison. So like for instance, we set up meetings with our CRMs, our community resource managers, our public information officers, custody staff, the IT staff, healthcare administrators, anybody who basically played an important role in the process of making this relationship go forward. We sat down with them, we introduced and explained the Senate Bill 776 and the importance of it. So we were able to establish a rapport with them and gain buy-in on the program and reiterate the importance of our roles going forward so that we could have that relationship and allow us to get into the prisons to meet with our veterans. So basically with that, we were able to disseminate our contact information. They were able to further pass that on to the veterans. Also, there were veterans who were already reaching out before this program was even established that were saying, how can we get in contact with somebody? So we had referrals already waiting for us. We have referrals that come from our designated county representatives who, you know, once they found out we were on board, they sent referrals and contacts to us. Word of mouth within CDCR, once, you know, we got in contact with one veteran, it spread. They said, okay, you know, at their group meetings or their with their fellow veterans, they passed out our information that way. And also, before we even started, there were veterans who already had claims in the system. They were the ones having problems, maybe getting access to the status of their claims, or maybe it was an appeal or whatnot. Well, when we came on board, we would get contact information from the VA saying, you know, we have a order saying that this examination needs to take place for a veteran. I've been told that you are the liaison for this particular prison. Please start the communication and the scheduling process. So there was multiple different ways that we got in contact and they got in contact with us to start the process. Next slide. Next slide, please. Once that started, we started seeing an onslaught of letters and communication and requests for information come in. So once we get the communication, we write back to them, we start the correspondence process. We are able to, you know, answer and address any request or information they're looking for, send them applicable forms, whether it's to start a claim or just maybe reach out to them with a questionnaire and find out what services they even need. Sometimes they don't even know what they need. They just know they're a veteran and there's something out there possibly for them. And they want to find out from us what they have access to. A lot of times, again, they're very versed and knowledgeable about what the process is, and they know that maybe even though they can't get the benefits, they can start the process to have it apportioned to their dependents. So but they need somebody, that liaison in between, to help them with that process, and that's what we do. Next slide. Again, once we started the communication, we got an avalanche of letters and communication. This slide here basically breaks down, or this chart here breaks down our flow as far as the different areas of work that we do. We were, pre-COVID, we were instrumental in conducting, veterans group meetings within the prison, one-on-one appointments with the veterans, letters sent, letters received. Those are some of the forms, and new POA or power of attorney request, intents to file, claims filed, VA exams inside and outside at the VAMCs. This is broken down by quarters. And as you can see, as we get down to April of this year, some of the elements kind of came to a screeching halt. Group meetings and one-on-ones, obviously, as we were restricted access to the prisons, we weren't able to do that. Also, we found out that the inmates, a lot of times due to the COVID restrictions, their access to libraries or different facilities that they needed to use to send us correspondence or draft up correspondence was limited too. So a lot of our letters sent, letters received slowed down some, understandably so. You can also see that our VA examinations slowed down for a while, but the good news on that is in the recent month or so, we've been given information that the VA has lifted some of the restrictions. In the beginning of COVID, they halted any provider's ability to go into the prisons and conduct the examinations. They also halted our ability to schedule them to be transported out to VAMCs. But we've been given word that the VA has lifted those restrictions recently. And so and there's a backlog of that, So we've been given permission to resume the scheduling process of examinations, and we're getting a lot of those requests from the VA right now. So that's very good news, because that was one of the main things that had halted our process of getting the claims developed in advance to the next process. And so that's keeping us really busy right now, and we're super excited about the resuming of that. So next slide, please. Oops. So these are just some important points that pertain specifically to incarcerated veterans. As some of you may or may not know, upon incarceration, or at that 61st day of incarceration, no matter what their pre-incarceration rating, service-connected rating was, whether it was 100%, 50%, or anywhere in between, they're going to get reduced down to that 10% rating. And if they were previously rated at 10% service connection, it gets reduced down to half of that. And unfortunately, even if they file a claim for an increase and their rating gets increased while they're incarcerated, it won't affect their incarcerated rating of 10%. If they have VA recognized dependents, as we said before, they may be eligible to apply for apportionment to have their dependents receive their benefits, and we are instrumental in helping them with that paperwork as well. Next slide. The good news on that is, upon release or parole, as soon as they receive their notification of an impending release or parole, we encourage them to notify us so we can give them the paperwork and documents they need to start the process to have their pre-incarceration rating reinstated. So we also, once they're actually released, we encourage them to reach out to their county VSOs so they can have that direct contact. But we also let them know that they can continue communicating with us, since they've already established a relationship, and we'll help them through the process to see it through to the end. But it's very important that, we stress to them and let them know that if you're getting released, please notify us so we can help you with the proper paperwork. And we're seeing an increase in that with, COVID and the pandemic and basically CDCR's recent efforts to release prisoners as a result of that with Project Hope. We're starting to see more and more of that. So we're helping them with that paperwork as well. Next slide, please. This is just some bullets with positive results of some of the things we've seen since the implementation of this program. Veteran granted increased rating based on completed VAEs while in CDCR institution. And again, although they won't see an increase beyond the 10% while they're in there, the benefits from increased rating could help their dependents and also be fully reinstated upon release. Second bullet talks about veteran granted service connection at 10% for Agent Orange, presumptive conditions. While they were in, based on the ACE review, the accepted clinical evidence. And so that helped them while they were in. And then that last bullet talks about veteran receiving 100% prior to incarceration was effectively reduced to 10% after that 61st day. But because the apportionment for his family was filed within the year of incarceration, the benefits apportioned to his family affected the reduction of his benefits. Basically, they were able to continue on with their benefits since it was filed within that first year of incarceration. And from what I understand, the county VSO was instrumental in helping with that. So that was good. These are things that we've learned that have positive results since the implementation of this program. Next slide, please. These next few slides, basically, as we talked about in the beginning, there's one representative designated to 5 prisons each. And this talks about, like here, this is the San Diego Representative Robert Avila for those prisons there. Next slide. Matthew Grimm in LA for those, Sandra Matricitos in LA. Next slide. Felicia Johns, she's part of the Oakland DO, and those are her designated locations. Mary Donovan, those are her designated locations. The next slide has myself and Stephen Smith with our designated locations, and all of our email addresses and information in case you guys want to refer back to these slides and contact us or send a referral our way based on those prisons that are designated. And the last slide just shows the contact information for the, next slide, please, for the DO offices, the San Diego, the LA, and the Oakland district office with address and phone number information for us. So that concludes my presentation. I'll stick around for questions, and thank you guys again for allowing me the opportunity to explain our program.
Thank you, Liz. We really appreciate it. Thank you for all the great info.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Devon Hilliard, who's a parole agent with the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. Devon, if you are ready, feel free to take it away.
Thanks, Derek. My name is Devon Hilliard. I'm a Parole Agent 2 Specialist with the California Department of Corrections Rehabilitation. I'm under their Adult Program Unit. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, so today we will discuss, who we are and what we do as far as the Adult Program Unit, why veteran outreach, why do we, serve these veterans, and why are we, coming up with a process so we could better stream these veterans through, county resources. Veterans on parole, we'll talk about the parolee life cycle, how did the parolee end up in the parole office? And then, upon release, the veterans outreach, the parolee release, the parolee services, and parole follow-up. Next slide, please. Okay, the Adult Program Unit. The Adult Program Unit is made up of Parole Agent 2 Specialists and Parole Service Associates, and we are the liaison between, parole field units and community resources. So some of the things that we do are parole and community team orientation meetings, which is called the PAC meeting. So when there's a newly released parolee, we gather up resources in the community and they come out and then they talk to the parolees, if it's, AA, excuse me, NA, drug rehabilitation programs. They come out and speak with the parolees. And then after the meeting is, adjourned or, through the whole thing, then the parolees get a chance to meet with the service providers and, try to address their criminogenic needs, whatever it may be. And then we have DRP Contractor Programs, Department of Rehabilitation Programs. It's just programs that we, send our parolees that are contracted with the Department of Corrections, and we send our parolees and we pay for their services there and whatever, services that they, have at that program. That's what they do over there. And then we have the Peer Reentry Navigation Network, which is big. That's our lifer population. A lot of people don't understand the lifer concept in the California Department of Corrections. They think, if he's a lifer, he should be, or she's a lifer, they should be in prison for life. But some of these people, just to kind of break it down, some of these parolees, inmates, they have a 15, 20 to life, 25 to life sentence. So, they get released, say, after, 20, 30, 40 years. And then, so we have a support group. And this is, I want everybody to know this is Parolee ran. So we're pretty much in charge of it. We make sure that everything is situated. So we have something called a peer reentry navigator. So this is a lifer that's doing well on parole, and they facilitate all the programs as far as, they get together once a month. It's a topic, they might bring in guest speakers. So, a lot of these parolees, they might bring in the DMV or child support or, a phone company or, something, because a lot of these parolees has been locked up for so many years. So it's just to kind of get them going. And we'll kind of talk about that a little later, with our plans with, for the veterans also. And then we have the community-based treatment programs. That's just programs within the community that we refer our parolees to as far as, for services. It could be, like I said, an AA program. It could be, just, any type of program that's going to help our parolees out in the field, so we just, kind of refer. So that's what our mission is as adult program unit. Is we're the liaison between the field units, and, we're spread out through, San Diego, Los Angeles, to the Oregon border. So every parole agent, 2 specialists has a certain geographical coverage area that we, take care of. And if there's anything that we need to do as far as in that community, like I said, we are the liaison. So the parole agents, they could call us, and then, if, we don't have an answer for it, we'll go find an answer that we'll report back to the field unit. Next slide, please. So why veteran service outreach? So there's a stigma. Right? There's a stigma that parolees, do they receive services as far as if they were a veteran, previous veteran. A lot of veterans don't go to prison, right? But there are some that do go to prison. So one of the things that we want to do, we want to streamline the process for our veterans that went to prison. So a lot of them don't like to go out, and say they're a veteran because, they might be embarrassed, due to, because veterans are supposed to be, law-abiding citizens, top of the world, different things like that. So, we have all the information as far as, who are veterans, who are not veterans. So we're able to, streamline and bring it up in conversations with them so they can get the benefits to afford it. So the adult program unit, we began this collaboration to bridge veteran parolees to services afforded to the veterans. So we started with Zoom meetings, and we've been on the phone with Calvet, or actually the Zoom meetings with Calvet, talking about how are we going to streamline these parolees and get them the services they need while they're incarcerated, and then make it easy. So, it's a warm handoff. So when they, get out, so, it's, we're not repeating the same things that's already been done. So we started these collaboration meetings with Calvet, and then Veterans Healing Veterans, which is a great program in, the Marina, Salinas area, Mr. Ron Self. And, he pretty much is a one-stop shop. So if anybody's out there, they're blessed to have, a program like that, because they just pretty much, he's in contact with them in reach while they're in prison. And then once they get out of prison, he's in contact with them. And his program will shuttle them around. It's a housing, for them, so they could, get the housing. And then, they work on their, disability claims or whatever the veterans afforded. Even if they had, say, a bad conduct discharge or dishonorable discharge, they could work on it, through, Calvet, veteran service offices, whatever it may be, to get this veteran, kind of slated in the right direction. Next slide. So veterans on parole. So California parole is a supervised program that takes place when inmates re-enter the community after being released from prison. So once they get out of prison, pre-release and post-incarceration cycle. So let's take a look at the veterans on parole. So a veteran is somebody that served in the United States military, whatever branch of service they served in, they're a veteran on, veteran. So once they served in the United States, military, this person had convicted of a crime and sentenced to prison. This person, went through the court process through the county, was convicted of a crime, and they went through the court process, and then from there they were sentenced to a prison term. So once they, sentenced to a prison term, they go to, one of the prisons, and they, once they're in there, and it gets to, being, time for release, they prepare for reentry with, the Calvet rep, like, Ms. Hcrv Washington talked about earlier. They, with the, Calvet reps, they're in there and they get to, prepare for release and prepare for maybe, fill out their paperwork, for their disability or get their disability claim back up, because it was, reduced or whatever that may be. And then finally, once they get their parole date, they're released on parole into the community. Next slide, please. So let's talk about the parolee release, for a moment. So a parolee is released to parole supervision. Like I said, they did their time in, state prison, and once their, time is up, they get released. So say this person is a veteran, they're referred to county veteran service officers. So, all the counties have veteran service officers and, veteran service offices. So they're referred, through their parole agent. So once they drop in, to the office, they go to their parole agent. The parole agent will in turn refer them to county veteran services. Once we do that, the veteran service, officer or the, the staff at the veteran service office will, take care of the parolee and whatever services they're, able to get, they will, guide them through that process. So the field unit, the parole agent, they will follow up with the parolee and follow up with the veteran service office. Some of these guys and, females, they've been, locked up for, 10, 15, 20 years. So, although this is very important to them, I mean, they have other things they have to worry about, through, family reunification or, technology or, trying to get a job, I mean, they have a lot of things to worry about. So that's why it's important for the parole agent to follow up with the veteran service office and the parolee to kind of find out what their, what part of the process they're in. And, if there's anything that the parole agent could do that could, expedite the process. And then from there, like we talked about earlier with the lifer population, we have a support group, a peer reentry navigation network. So we're in, talks to get the Veterans Navigation Network. And, that would be, ran by a veteran, parolee, and, get the veterans all in one area and get the resources. So, if it's, whatever, meet, once a month and, whatever resources. So if there's issues with, offices as far as, getting their disability claim or, getting their veterans, disabled license plates or anything like that, that's what we would, try to, get those, people in the room. But, the most important thing is, this would be pretty much, parolee ran with, a veteran parolee, just like we talked about with the lifer population, because this, a veteran parolee, they've been there, they've been, incarcerated, yes, we have, veteran parole agents, but, veteran, parole agents haven't been incarcerated. So, with these, people, they have more of an insight kind of, from the, pre, what happened or from the military to, pre-incarceration to incarceration to post-incarceration. So that'll be very important. That's what we're working on right now is to, to get some support groups for our veterans. Next slide, please. So in conclusion, today we talked about, how we could connect the veterans or the services that the, veteran parolees, get as opposed to the non-veteran, parolees. So any service that the, regular parolee gets or, somebody that's not a veteran, the veterans still get that service also, so, but, they'll get, more services due to the fact that they, served in the United States military. And then the adult program unit, parole unit and veteran service officers will guide the parolee throughout the process. Sometimes the process, kind of gets, muddy or, so, it gets confusing. So, that's, what, we've been meeting, like I said, our collaboration, meetings, Zoom meetings have been, for us. So how can we get, our parolees, the services that they need, so it's not, confusing or, we have a contact, building a rapport with, Calvet or our county veteran service offices, or different people that have, services that can provide these parolees. So that's what we're, trying to, reach for. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you to Calvet for having Parole, in this webinar, and I appreciate it. I look forward to working with everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Devon. We really appreciate it. Really appreciate your time and joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'm going to turn it over to George Dixon of the County Veteran Service Office. George, are you there? If you are, feel free to take it away.
Oh, can you guys see me? Good to go?
Good to go, George.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I want to thank all of you for taking the time to help this special population of veterans. But before I get started on my presentation, by a show of hands in the audience, and you guys can just give me a rough number. How many of you guys are veterans out there? And you can do the little hand raising thing or thumbs up so the Calvet can get a count. And while you guys are doing that, I'll give you a little story, piggybacking off of Devon. I had an incarcerated veteran after 33 years in prison, end up in Los Angeles County. They give them the Greyhound bus pass to get down to where you're going to be paroled at or whatever halfway house or facility you're going to be put into. He said he arrived in a downtown Los Angeles Greyhound bus station, which moved to a very bad area of town. It used to be on 7th and Maple. And then it moved into the Alameda Street area and that area down there. Got off the bus, he said, and first thing he was looking for was a payphone. And as you guys all know, payphones are going to be in the Smithsonian Institute in the years to come. So he ran into a security guard, and the security guard said, "Follow the red line down to where there's a payphone down there." And here's a guy that's about 70 years old after 30 some odd years in prison. And last time he was out, there were payphones. So he went and followed the little red line in the carpet, and he ended up in a place where there used to be payphones that they had ripped out of the walls. And he said he was contemplating another crime just to go back into jail because they took care of him for 30 years. He had his housing, his medical. He might have had a partner or buddy in the facility that he confided in, not in, to keep in good standings with him, but he liked being in that regimented system. So luckily somebody showed him a cell phone and showed him how to use it. He got a hold of the location on 32nd Street in downtown Los Angeles. The parole officer set up a taxi cab for him to pick him up. And he said he was amazed that the car was talking to them and the car was telling them where to go. And here's a guy that probably went in the 70s, early 80s that, we didn't have any of that stuff. And the cell phone was probably a big old box that was connected to your car. And here's this little phone that he was able to speak out of. He ends up in the County Veteran Service Office, which is a couple of blocks from where they housed him at. And I reinstated his benefits for him. He said the best feeling that he had was they took him on a group trip, the parolees, to the Santa Monica Beach, and he was able to smell the ocean water. So anybody that's ever, not saying any of you were in prison or have been in the penal system at one time or another, they tell you the odors, the sights, the sounds, and the smells, and just to smell the fresh water was really cool for him. Reinstated his benefits. He was receiving 1/2 the 10% rate for some time in prison. And he went up to his 100% rate. And thanks to the Calvet staff and the VA, it was reinstated within about 3 months. So he was really happy about that. But keep in mind that these individuals are a special population of veterans. I've had the opportunity to work in Salinas Valley State Prison when I was Director of Veteran Services in Monterey County. Monterey County Veteran Service Office has a veteran service office that they support in Soledad State Prison. So if anybody has a chance to go out and check that out.
All right.
One of the founders of it, Mr. Richard Garza, still visits that correctional facility and supports that group of veterans in there. one of the lead veterans who was a lifer that started that Veteran Service Office in Soledad Prison passed away recently prior to his parole. But I believe the office is still going, and it's they help facilitate claims work in support of the County Veteran Service Office in that county. We also frequented Salinas Valley one-on-ones as County Veteran Service Office in partnership with Calvet and the Department of Veterans Affairs. So there's not one organization on this presentation that can do it all by themselves. We have to collaborate together. And I have a heart for them because my veteran service officers, when I came back to Los Angeles County, were not frequenting the county jails or the state prisons. Myself, along with one of my senior reps, frequent Lancaster State Prison out here in the Antelope Valley where I live at. It's only a couple of blocks from me. But due to COVID, we're very limited. And right now we're looking at alternative ways of connecting up with them inside, either through virtual Teams meetings, maybe phone interviews under supervision of the correctional officers, which actually works out pretty good. Everything that your county veteran service officers do in the field can be done remotely. They don't have to be in the facility to work with your inmates or your veterans. I would highly recommend connect up with your county veteran service office if you haven't done so already. Some county veteran service offices do frequent correctional facilities. Some don't because of limited staffing. But believe it or not, they do respond to these veterans, and we do get them when they get outside and come into the office by referral. Next slide. So note, like I said, we can't do this all by ourselves. It takes a, what do they call it? It takes a family, or it takes a team. The Federal Department of Veterans Affairs has Veterans Justice Outreach Workers. Calvet has a Justice Outreach Worker. The County Association of County Veteran Service Officers, California Association of County Veterans Officers, has veteran service officers that have committed staff to go into correctional facilities on a limited basis. But we also do respond to letters from prison systems all over the state of California, federal detention centers. 1 month ago, I responded to 24 inmates. What we do is we send them a packet, we send them a book, we send them the forms. And actually, a lot of them, in the beginning, prior to getting incarcerated, we may have facilitated their claims work. Your county veteran service officers are accredited by the California Department of Veterans Affairs. So there are partners, and we do collaborate on a daily basis, monthly basis, annual basis, and in the correctional facilities. Your veteran service organizations also have, on a limited basis, peer groups, veterans outreach. I know in Salinas Valley, the DAV and the American Legion had a group that would go into our nighttime meetings, and all of this was coordinated through the community resource manager at Salinas Valley State Prison. We did have excellent staff that would facilitate our VSOs in the facility. I had excellent vet rep that would go into Soledad and Salinas Valley during my tenure up in Monterey, Mr. Chris Lopez, but he moved on to San Luis Obispo County and to bigger and better things. But it takes a family to work with this special population of veterans. You can't do it by yourself. There's no I in team. If you're thinking that way, you shouldn't be in this business. Next slide. So no, when you're talking to our veterans, get them to understand, when you're going to the correctional facility and there may be some of you sitting out there and you say, hey, man, are you service connected? And they'll tell you, yeah, I'm service connected. I was in the service. And, the Department of Veterans Affairs has 3 sub-agencies under it: VA Healthcare Administration, the Benefits Administration, and the place we're all dying to get to, the National Cemeteries Administration. Note that Calvet does similar benefits, but there's a little bit difference with the State Department of Veterans Affairs because they administer the CalTAP assistance program. The County Veteran Service Officers administer the college tuition fee waiver program. Another story about an inmate in Salinas Valley State Prison who was estranged from his family, but he had small children. He was service connected at 100%, only receiving the 10% rating while he was incarcerated. And a portion of his comp was apportioned to his family. His family disassociated themselves from him. But once he found out that he can get his kids to the college tuition fee waiver and Chapter 35 benefits for education, the family started talking to him a little bit. So there's a lot of things that your state and county veteran service officers can do, along with facilitating healthcare, compensation and pension benefits when the time comes. as long as the crime wasn't one listed that bans the veteran from being buried in the National Cemetery. Next slide. So what do county veteran service officers do? Here's another question for you. How many of you have connected with your county veteran service officer? And if you can just show of hands out there and raise it, and then Calvet will give me some feedback on it later on. So your county veteran service officers are generally the first line of defense, or when the veteran gets out from incarceration, this is the first location that these veterans are going to be referred to reinstate benefits, put in claims for increase, provide housing assistance, provide reinstatement of medical benefits, provide.
I was going to call Navy Marine Corps.
Oh, somebody's not on mute out there. So, you know, we're generally like the one-stop service for them. At Bob Patriota Call, we have the opportunity of having benefits, employment, mental health, all in one building. Some of your county veteran service officers have that. Your county veteran service officers brought in $457 million in new benefits, federal dollars that's paid back into your communities. So something that you may want to go to your board of supervisors, say, you know what, like the program that Devon was talking about, to have a parolee-led program to help facilitate veterans transitioning back into the community. You look at it like getting out of the military. After I'm a 30-year retired veteran, military retiree, transitioning was very hard for me, and my wife still says I'm not transitioned. I still think I'm that sergeant first class, first sergeant, leader, that says, hey, I got to get this stuff done now, and it doesn't work that way in the civilian community. But could you imagine, after somebody being incarcerated for 30 some odd years, transitioning back into the community and not having a point to go to or being able to navigate a complicated system? 9 times out of 10, they're going to think about, you know what, I think I'm better off in there. I'm going to go do something crazy like break a window, end up in county jail so I can go back to the state prison. I look at it as Shawshank Redemption. If you guys seen that movie where the guy was in for so long and they let him out and he became very depressed, and it does happen. Next slide. So types of assistance that you can help your or our veterans who are transitioning back into the community seek assistance on. Your county veteran service officers are the experts in compensation and pension benefits counseling. They can help them initiate claims, take a look at old claims. Appoint representation, that's very important because a lot of these veterans will try to do the claims work themselves while they're in jail, or they may have done an intent to file through the VJO or the Calvet personnel going into the prisons, and they forgot about it. And the time may be running out to reinstate or file the claim for compensation and pension benefits. We're a great network for advocacy groups for parolees or those people that are transitioning back into civilian life. We can help facilitate pension benefits, help them apply for life insurance benefits. And it's kind of funny if a veteran applies for compensation and gets service connected at a 0% or higher, they have 2 years to file for life insurance. And I never thought about life insurance in my 30s, but now I'm 58. My wife says, hey, yeah, I should put in for that whole life. But the average veteran, believe it or not, if they're older and they're getting out and they're in their mid 50s or early, it's something that they want to look into. We can request their records. We can help facilitate discharge upgrades. There are organizations such as the American Legion, Swords of Plowshares, Disabled American Veterans, other organizations that do work discharge upgrades, but your veteran service officers are familiar with the discharge upgrade process, or at least to initiate under Chapter 17 to see if they can become honorable just for VA healthcare only, so they can get healthcare at a VA facility. The great thing about coming back from an incarceration period and you want to get them motivated is to get the word veteran put on their driver's license, and your county veteran service officer does that. And we do also do the pre-need planning for federal and state cemeteries. If a veteran is interested in being buried in the National Cemetery, depending on the crime. And there's a lot of things that we can do. If the veteran does pass away while incarcerated and they die of a service-connected cause, then the county veteran service officer can help the survivors file for widow's benefits, dependency indemnity compensation, or widow's pension. Next slide. So service connection, I'm not going to kill you on this because it becomes more complicated as it goes. So generally when you're talking to your veterans, service connected, and they say, yeah, I was in the Army. So no, that's not what service connected is, or what a service connected disability is. Generally speaking, a service connected disability is for disease or injury caused by or aggravated by active military service. Keep in mind, it also does include reserve service for injury incurred during active duty for training or initial periods of service, if it is shown in the service treatment records that is chronic in nature and it has residuals. Don't underestimate a lot of veterans in prison. When we started going into SOLDAP prison, a lot of reserves and guardsmen would not come into the group meetings because they did not consider them veterans. But once we started giving the presentation on service connection, the principles of service connection, what it takes to get service connection, then they started coming in. And believe it or not, we got a couple of those individuals service connected. They got their little 10% rating reduced by half. That put money on their books. And sometimes that's a survivability in prison. You know, you have a little bit of money to live on, because depending on the crime, my pitch when I went into those prisons was, thank you for letting me into your house. If you're on the life plan, I can help you. If you're on the 10 to 25 year plan, I can help you. If you're being released in 5 years, we can help you. So generally I get a chuckle out of that, but we would initiate those claims during our community resource meetings in the evening and in daytime visits when we're allowed to go in. But the more you pitch what compensation is, what they are allowed to have while they're in prison together as a unit, not as a single silo where we're trying to do this one-on-one, because we all collaborate together one way or another. Our veterans service representatives are generally located at each VA medical facility in LA County, and other county veteran service officers, depending on the availability of staff, are co-located at VA healthcare facilities also. So we do collaborate with state, federal, local agencies on issues regarding incarcerated veterans. Next slide. So generally, you know, when you're talking to veterans about service connection, I found that those veterans that are incarcerated will meticulously do the work a lot better than the person on the outside. Because if you tell them, hey, get me these medical records from the jail, give me some statements from your family members. We would go in one day, do the intent to file, come back a month or two later, the veteran would have all the medical evidence there. And they do the research because all they have is a lot of time. So, you know, when you're explaining what happened to you in service, obviously, for the most part, most veterans have hearing loss and tinnitus. That's the easy one. If you're dealing with veterans who went to combat or were exposed to some situation that leads to post-traumatic stress disorder, that's something that we can help develop. But 9 times out of 10, if they've been in prison for 30 years, they have a lot of psych evaluations. Come to find out that there's a lot of those veterans that have been at VA facilities across the state of California, and believe it or not, in the 70s across the United States. So we are instrumental in pulling those records or help securing other private charts from those veterans. You know, we talk a little bit about exposure, Persian Gulf, like the previous speaker talked about, the Calvet, about Agent Orange exposure, the Persian Gulf War syndrome, ionizing radiation, and other things that affect the veteran while in service. If they have a current condition, we see a lot of physical conditions such as knees, back, you know, hypertension, diabetes type 2 while they're incarcerated, and come across a lot of veterans who don't know about presumptive conditions due to Agent Orange or never filed for these diseases or injuries while incurred. A little story about one individual I met in Salinas Valley State Prison. He was out of San Bernardino County, and he talked about back in 1974, they never filed his claim. I looked at his 214. He had a combat infantryman's badge, a Purple Heart, a Bronze Star with a V device, and other medals from Vietnam, and nobody initiated his claim. He goes, yeah, I knew that guy didn't do that claim. And, you know, we had the ability to look at the system in the prison. The guy was about 6'4". He could have picked me up and shook me around. So I initiated his claim right then and there. And to this point, I believe he did get his 100%, but he's only receiving the 10% rating at this time. Make sure that they have a current condition and that they can link it, but you have to counsel them because they don't understand what the nexus or link between their active duty in service injury is and the current condition. The problems we run into, especially with PTSD or for MST cases, sometimes the VA will look at it as the assault happened while in prison. So, you know, our job as advocates is to help that that claim, even though prison life, things do happen to them in there. Next slide. How do we do it? And very simple. So for those of you that frequent the prison, if you can download a 210966, get the veteran to do an intent to file, that protects the pay date. Talk to the veteran about gathering required evidence. Generally, the county veteran service officer will try to order the service treatment records, and interview the veteran on all facilities that veteran's been to, secure the prison records, and help the veteran develop a fully developed claim. We're finding that COVID has kind of limited us on FDC claims. So my vet reps have been guided just to initiate the claim because, they're still gonna have to develop it. And veterans can't get out to these areas to pick up the charts. And sometimes when we mail stuff to doctors, they don't respond. But, generally start it with an intent to file, gather the evidence, make sure through Calvet that they attend the compensation and pension exam while inside if it's collaborated between facilities, or we ensure on our end that they attend those comp and pen exams in LA. We also have a vehicle that can transport them. And most of all, wait for the decision. And we're finding that these decisions are coming back within 1 month to 2 months in LA County. I just did an incarcerated veteran who had 20 years in prison. He went from 10% to 70%. The claim was initiated 2 weeks after he got out. He was awarded within a month from the time he was separated from his prison time. And they reinstated his 10% rating and increased him to 70%. And now he's going to school. So those are success stories that what we can do together in helping each other versus one person or two people saying, well, we'll do all this for you. And then something falls through the cracks. So you have to be able to do it together and collaborate and communicate. And I think the bulk of us that are on this presentation do have VA emails too. Next slide. So Veteran Services will take the time to review and discharge upgrades and help them fill out the DD 149 or the 293, depending on the time frame. Generally, if it's under 15 years, it's 293. If it's over 15 years, a DD 149, and there has to be, in the interest of justice or justification why the veteran didn't attempt to do it. There are organizations that do represent the veteran in Washington, D.C. at the boards for upgrades. That's why it's very important to get the veteran in to talk to somebody. Swords to Plowshares, they have their number on there that is very instrumental in getting these upgrades. And in lieu of, the county veteran service officer actually filing the claim for benefits to see if they can become VA healthcare eligible. So it's very important when you're out there talking to veterans, you're gonna hear, well, I got bad paper. A little story about a young man that was out of Los Angeles. He had 3 periods of service. He got in trouble in LA. He was discharged from Twin Towers. His child died a crib death. So that caused him to get in an accident and hurt somebody. And he ended up in county jail for about 2 years. And they discharged him from the county jail, not knowing he thought his discharge was other than honorable across the board. Met him through Volunteers of America, applied for his benefits. The VA looked at the first 2 periods of service. The 3rd period was bad. He did not have an immediate re-enlistment, which is a conditional enlistment. He would have to have completed the 2nd period to have it honorable. But since he waited for his whole period of service to end, he re-enlisted at his normal time, and he was eligible for benefits under the first 2 periods of service. The last period of service was other than honorable for VA purposes. He ended up getting his Chapter 30 benefits for his GI Bill. He became a work study student for us. And then later on, he went on to work for Goodwill Industries as a veterans outreach person. So these are some of the success stories that you can make happen by collaborating. Next slide. How do you find us? If you note that in the small print, we're on page 187, if that's the updated version of the book. How ironic, right? Also through the Calvet webpage, click it, find your county veteran service officer. And also you can punch in your zip code and click the little boxes. And also, if you guys want to do this today, dial 1-844-SERVE-VETS, type in your zip code and make an appointment with your county veteran service officer to set up some collaboration. And for us, any incarcerated veterans you have, I work with San Quentin, Soledad, Salinas Valley, San Luis Obispo. call up 1-8774-LA-VETS, or you can get me at george.dixon@va.gov, and we'll collaborate. And with that, I'll be around for questions at the end, and good luck. Thank you for serving our veterans. By the way, Calvet, how many veterans are on this call today? Were they able to raise their hands?
We have about 63 participants that logged on. I can't confirm how many are actual veterans at the moment, but we'll try and narrow that down for you and give you a better number.
Yeah, pass it on. They should have all connected with the County Veteran Service Officer and filed their claims too.
Great. Sounds great, George. Thank you.
Thanks,
as
sir.
always. We appreciate you. All right, at this moment, I'm going to turn it over to Ben Gales, who is the local interagency network coordinator out of Orange County, and he's going to speak to you a little bit more about his roles down there in the Southern California, more specifically Orange County region. So with that, Ben, feel free to take it away.
This is how we're trying to just test the system and keep on moving things forward.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Derek. I appreciate it. Again, my name is Ben Gales. At Calvet, I'm what we call a link. And so one of the most important jobs of a link is to provide information about benefits and services and make connections to benefits and services for veterans, service members, and their families. These days, we're doing a lot of that by phone and email, and that's the way that we can help. And this applies to veterans in the justice system, connected to the justice system, or any veteran or military connected family or service member. Next slide, please, Derek. Okay, so this is our link map. So we have 8 links in the state, and it's color coded to show each link region. So this is how you can find where the link is that can provide help to you. So our link regions are a little bit different. So in Northern California, you can see that our link regions often have many counties, whereas down here in Southern California, where I am, we tend to have a lower number of counties and denser populations of veterans. But regardless of kind of the nature of the region, one thing that's true for all of us links is that we have a lot of knowledge about the different types of services that exist in our regions. And so we're able to make good connections and provide information. Next slide, please, Derek. Okay, so what do we do as links? Okay, well, we provide outreach to service members, veterans, and their families. As I said, we do that in a range of means. Through a range of means, we make referrals and work directly with established service provider networks. So when we make referrals, so if you're a veteran or working with us, we make referrals because we know the agencies and we know the people that work at them. So a big part of what we do is we're very connected in the community. So we're really in a position where we're not making referrals based upon reading about, services on the internet, but it's really because we're very connected in the community. We assist with local emergencies. So our link team has been very involved in supporting efforts to help those affected by the wildfires in California that have affected so many. And then we provide leadership and advocacy to local communities. So many of us are very involved in different collaborative organizations. For example, here, the Orange County Veterans and Military Families Collaborative, where a lot of different groups are working together to try to improve how services are delivered to veterans. Next slide, please, Derek. Okay, so connecting to benefits. So we just have a sampling here of some benefits. Looking at employment and training. So the EDD provides services to veterans throughout the state. This is often done through what are called America's Job Centers, used to commonly be called one-stop centers, and they have veteran-specific programming. We have California state benefits. So you just heard from George in terms of connecting to the County Veteran Service Office. That's something that we can help you with as links as well. If you're having issues with a CVSO office in terms of making connections, understanding what's there, definitely feel free to reach out to us. Calvet Benefits. So we have a wide range of Calvet benefits. A lot of that can be learned about through our veteran resource book or our CalTAP curriculum that Derek will walk you through. So things like the Calvet tuition fee waiver, allowing veteran dependents to go to school tuition free, with generally a minimum 0% rating. The Calvet home loan, really excellent program. advantages for veterans in entrepreneurship, advantages in state employment, and then other benefits too, as George mentioned, a veteran driver's license designation and some other stuff as you increase it in higher levels of disability rating. And then you can see here that we have the VA healthcare systems listed, and we're happy to help facilitate connections there as well. Next slide, Derek. Thank you. Okay, so this is my contact information. You're welcome to reach out to me. Actually, one reason I joined this presentation is I do have a lot of history and experience working with veterans in the criminal justice system. So in terms of navigating issues there, I can also be a resource in terms of understanding what connections to make in different situations. So feel free to reach out. Feel free to reach out to me on those issues and the issues I discussed, and I can also certainly make connections to other links as well for calling from other regions. Okay, that's it. Thanks, Derek.
Great, thank you so much, Ben. We really appreciate it. Okay. Well, first and foremost, just wanted to thank everyone for their time today and joining us for this presentation. There's been a lot of great information put out, so thank you again to all of our presenters and partners, and as well as our attendees for logging in today. So we wanted to conclude with just an overview of the California Transition Assistance Program, which is the program that I work for at Calvet. My name is Derek Rose, and I serve as a training coordinator for that program. And the CalTAP program is designed to inform and connect veterans of all eras to their earned federal and state veterans benefits. And it's really important to note that, we don't focus just on one certain era of service for veterans. We call ourselves the Transition Assistance Program. Typically that states that we focus our efforts on recently transitioned veterans from the service, but we definitely, pride ourselves on making our services available to all veterans, because we all know that those needs change over time. So we want to just kind of give an overview of exactly what the California specific veterans benefits are and how to navigate our curriculum or our learning pathways on our Calvet website. So the way that we've done this and created the program is around 5 key core pathways or learning areas. And they cover the core veterans curriculum, our education, employment, entrepreneurship, and service providers pathway. So if a veteran is transitioning into either one of those areas, we've created a pathway with learning modules on how to get started and how to navigate all of those resources that are going to be available. So we really wanted to plant the seed of information so that veterans aren't coming back years down the road and saying, oh, well, nobody told me that, or I didn't know I needed to speak to, this person to get my veterans benefits. So that's our goal with the program. And we want to show you just how to navigate our website and how to find out more information. So if you went to Calvet, calvet.ca.gov, you can find our CalTAP icon and our CalTAP banner right down there on the home page. And we wanted to, first of all, show you kind of what we've been doing through the whole virtual learning experience that we've been doing since March. So we've actually created a whole series of webinars that cover an array of different topics, and we've posted those all on our Calvet website. So along with this presentation, you can at your leisure go back on our website and view any one of our webinars that we've recorded and posted on our Calvet website. So keep that in mind as well, that all of this information will be later available after the conclusion of the presentation. And that's just another snapshot of the presentation. So how can you get started and how can you use CalTAP online? So if you went to our CalTAP page, the first thing that you would want to do is focus on the core curriculum. And that core curriculum has several different learning modules, but we want to focus on module 5 because that focuses on California specific veterans benefits. So if you clicked on Module 5, that'll give you a PDF learning lesson of everything that I'm going to touch on. It's very similar to the Veterans Resource Book. And I actually have a copy of the Veterans Resource Book here as well. This is a great, valuable tool. I highly recommend, if you're available, to go on our website and download a copy of that book. It's going to be a wonderful resource from, an A to Z listing of all your veterans benefits. And I believe we can also put that through the chat. So if you just wanted to download it right through the chat feature, you'd be able to do that as well. So if we want to know exactly what the benefits are, right? I've mentioned them a few times. So, and this was mentioned earlier. So for starters, one of our most commonly utilized benefits and most popular benefits is our Collagen tuition fee waiver program for veterans dependents. So if the veteran has a minimum 0% service-connected disability from the Department of Veterans Affairs, their child, as long as they're a California resident, can attend any CSU, UC, or California Community College here in the state tuition-free. It's a great program. As you can see, it saves veterans several millions of dollars in tuition every year. So if you have a child who's coming up to college age, or maybe their senior year of high school, and you are still needing to get that rating, connect with an office such as George's office or whatever county that you're tuning in from, so they can get you plugged into your service-connected disability if eligible. We also partner with the DMV on several programs. Most popular is our Veterans Driver's Designation on your driver's license. That's just a way for you to show your veteran status to get those benefits and discounts at your local stores or restaurants, so you don't have to carry around your paper copy of your 214. We have a license plates program that's actually available to all California motorists, not just veterans. It's an honoring veterans license plate is what it says, but it allows you to personalize your license plate with any type of logo or emblem from your period of service or a certain campaign that you served on. So it's a great way to personalize your vehicle. And if eligible, you can qualify for the motor vehicle registration fee waiver. This is reserved for veterans with a total and permanent service-connected disability or a service-connected disability that significantly impairs your mobility. So again, I would recommend reaching out to an office, a CVSO office, to assess your eligibility for your service connection for that program. All right, outdoor activities. California has a lot to offer as far as outdoor recreation. So for example, if you have a service-connected disability, I believe at 50% or greater, you can qualify for a reduced fee on your fishing and hunting license. You would just apply through the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and they will process that application for that discount for you. As well, for state parks passes, you can be eligible for a no-cost use of all basic state park operated systems. And new information that we received on Veterans Day that did not make it into this PowerPoint, but I believe the National Parks Administration just opened up their eligibility to all veterans for free admission into the National Park system as well. So that's another added benefit, so keep that in mind. Tax programs, primarily there is the Disabled Veteran Property Tax Exemption. This program is for 100% service-connected veterans, but they can apply through their county assessor's office to whoever it is they pay their property taxes, and that county office will determine the exemption amount for that county or for that property. If you wanted to sell any goods or products or services here in the state of California and you needed a business license to do so, you could be eligible to have that fee waived, whether it's through your local office, city, county, wherever you applied for that license from. Reach out to them that you're a veteran and see about how they can go ahead and waive that fee for you. There's also the Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise Program. I personally classify this as an entrepreneurship program, not necessarily a tax program, but that is a specific certification you can have if you are a disabled veteran who wanted to start their own business, having that DVBE certification will give you bidding preference if you wanted to place any bids on any state contracts here throughout the state. So basically, you selling your products or goods or services to the state of California with that certification will allow you a little bit more preferential bidding preference. Calvet Home Loans is another one of our most popular benefits. It is a great program to use. It uses your VA home loan eligibility, but it's not the same as a VA home loan. The primary difference between a Calvet loan and a VA loan is that you are going directly through Calvet as the lender, as opposed to using your VA home loan, which would use, of course, a private lender. So Calvet works with your VA home loan eligibility. They can provide full financing. There's still competitive rates out there, and it can oftentimes lead to a lower no down payment requirement. I just encourage you, if you one day down the road, or maybe now, are interested in home ownership and would like to utilize your Calvet benefit, please just reach out to our home loans team at our headquarters building, and they can walk you through all the steps and all the processes. They're great people, great customer service. So I highly encourage you to do so. Our Calvet Women's Veterans Affairs Division at Calvet. That unit provides information, advocacy, outreach, and support to all of our California women veterans. The great thing about this program is that as a women veteran, you could submit your name to be placed on our Women's Veterans roster. And that's a great way for you to connect with other women veterans in the state who may be able to serve as mentors or other business professionals, or just a way to really build that network, which is really important for the transition process. So if you're a woman veteran, feel free to reach out to our division at Calvet, and they can assist you to getting plugged into all the resources as well. And that's just a snapshot of our website that you can find out a little bit more information. And the same program with our Minority Veterans Affairs Division. Again, it's information, advocacy, outreach to all California minority veterans. One of the key components is actually helping and assisting unnaturalized veterans in California with citizenship and naturalization resources. So again, if you are interested, you can find out a lot more on our website. And there's just another snapshot with contact information as well. So our Calvet Homes for long-term care, as it says, it provides long-term care for veterans, offering medical, dental, pharmacy, rehabilitation, and social activities. There's 8 homes located throughout the state. As you can see, the locations right there. Maybe the time of need isn't quite here yet for you to make that decision if you wanted to be placed in a Calvet veterans home. But these homes offer all levels of care, from independent living all the way through skilled nursing facilities. So when that time of need does come, just be mindful that you do have that eligibility as a California veteran as well. State cemeteries, there's 3 located in the state. There's Seaside in the Central Coast, Redding in Northern California, and our Yountville Veterans Home in Napa County. So those are operated by the state under Calvet, separate from the National Cemetery Administration. So we also wanted to touch on some common veteran websites that you may encounter during your transition process. Most of that is going to come from the federal side, the federal VA. So if you went to va.gov, they kind of have a similar portal as far as their key areas. For example, healthcare, disability, records maintenance, and even your education benefits as well. So this is eBenefits. eBenefits is a popular place to manage and apply for your veterans benefits. You can file disability claims through eBenefits. I always recommend, before you do so, to please work with an accredited veteran service representative, such as a county veteran service office, prior to submitting anything to the VA, just to make sure that you're just doing everything properly and there's no issues with your claim. But it's a great way to manage everything that you're in receipt of. You can download your award letters. your certificate of eligibility for your home loan, review your education benefits as well. So e-benefits is a pretty good tool. My Health eVet, this is where you can go to refill your prescriptions, schedule appointments, message your primary care physician, and actually download your VA medical records if you're receiving your care from the VA. And lastly, it just looks like this was just one more snapshot of the life cycle that we began the presentation with. But you know, that was covered in the beginning, so we can bypass that. If you have any more questions about California specific veterans benefits, you can always reach out to me in my email, derek.rose@calvet.ca.gov. If there's something I just maybe went over a little too quickly or you wanted some more information on, feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to take all the time needed to discuss that with you. So with that, that concludes the presentation for today. I know we went over a lot of information. So at this time, I would like to open up any questions that may have came in through our chat to any one of the presenters specifically. I believe my colleague Jen has been reviewing the chat feature. So Jen, are you able to tell if we had any questions come through?
We did have a few questions and we did answer them through the chat, but I would like to go over them just so other people have them. So from Van G, it says, I'm a veteran interested in becoming involved in volunteering in peer advocacy program with veterans who are being released from incarceration. Who can I contact to discuss? I'm retired and living in the East Bay area of California. So do we have a presenter that can answer that?
Good question, Jen. I'd have to maybe hear the question one more time.
Yes, it's a veteran looking to volunteer. So I'm thinking in peer advocacy program. So I don't know, maybe Philip or Penal can answer that question.
You can probably start a group in LA County at Patriotic Hall because we have the halfway house right up the block from us.
Great. Okay. He's in the East Bay area. So what about in the Bay Area?
Jen, I would maybe get them plugged into their county office in the East Bay. I don't know if it's maybe Contra Costa or Alameda County or something along those lines. But maybe just to refer them to our website and our Veterans Resource Book to maybe start with their county, and then maybe they can go from there for a little bit more narrowed down resources.
And Derek, I would just add that there's a lot of nonprofit organizations and different programs that are doing peer support around the state. So, you know, in Southern California, I'm pretty familiar with those, but, you know, if the gentleman would like to email me, you know, our link in that area, I have a feeling that there are peer support groups like that. And I think that we could track that down and make that connection.
Possibly also Swords to Plowshares could also help.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, Swords to Plowshares is a good one.
Okay. All right. So the next question we have is, Sarah, you mentioned that there's jails. Jails are not state entities. Do they go to state prisons? And Sarah did answer this. Do you want to answer it again? Or do you want me to read out the answer, Sarah?
I'm trying to unmute. Okay, there we go. Yeah, the VJOs go to the county jails. The state prisons falls under the healthcare for reentry veterans. It's still in the veteran justice programs, but yeah, it's the reentry specialists that do the work with the prisons. The VJOs do all the county jails.
Okay. So the next question is a veteran subject to parole if released for time served? Not really quite sure what they're asking. Does anybody know any If you ask that question, if you want to raise your hand and we can unmute you to ask that question. And
Sorry,
okay, so I'll
think anything within the parole wheelhouse would be best served for maybe Devon and his through CDCR, but maybe it sounds like there's just a little bit more details with that question that might need to be addressed.
Yes. The next question is from Ana Paula Perez. Hi, everyone. I missed the second panel. Penal code. She actually got that one. I'm sorry, I didn't delete that one. So she was just looking for a penal code for that. The second penal code was 1117.9. So
yes, I think I was confused. It was 1117 or 11709.
1170.9.
11. What is it?
1170, 1170.9.
1170.
That's the penal code that applies to Veterans Treatment Court typically. Although the courts can use that penal code even if they don't have a formal veteran treatment court.
Okay, and also Sarah, I'm actually helping a friend of mine that's a veteran. I was wondering if it's possible to get your information and how to contact you.
Yes, so I don't know if we can send out like our brochure because we work by counties. Probably the easiest, it's kind of a long web address. I meant to have it in my PowerPoint, but if you just do a basic search and put in VA, VJO.
I'm so sorry, I have dyslexia, so you have to go a little bit slower. Okay. I'm so sorry.
Sarah, if you would like, you can put that in the chat for me and I will post it to everyone.
Oh, that would be lovely.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I really appreciate.
Yeah, because it's a website. So when you go there, all the VJOs are listed by state.
Yeah, he's in what county?
Kern County.
What is it?
Kern County.
Kearney County. And also, if you can put the penal code there too, would be amazing.
Yeah, that's the penal code for California, the 11.9, which typically is for felony charges.
It's just because I have dyslexia, number and letters, they're mixing my head. Is horrible. Okay.
Yeah,
thank you. I appreciate
for the VJOs, and then it's a hyperlink to email them. So
thank you so much, Sarah. Really appreciate. That was very helpful. Thank you.
So, okay, thank you so much, Sarah. Okay, and then another question, did veterans get their money from IRS since it was ruled by the judge that people incarcerated should receive it? Anybody know the answer to that question?
Can you repeat the question?
Hi, this is Susan. Okay. And yes, I've heard from a number of veterans. They had until the end of last month to apply. And I did hear that some were getting their stimulus checks.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. And then a very frequent question that came up for everyone. Everybody was asking if the PowerPoint is going to be available and if this is going to be available online. And yes, it is. And so I posted in the chat our link to upcoming webinars and previously recorded webinars. And the ones with the previously recorded webinars, there are PowerPoints for that. And then also I was asking for contact information, and the contact information for all of our presenters should be at the end of this presentation. Is that correct, Derek?
There's not the all-encompassing contact information on this slide, or the next slide, I apologize, but we can, if anybody wanted to send it out one more time through the chat, that'd be a great way for everybody to just one more time put their contact information in. So Jen, if you wanted to maybe just open up that chat feature to everyone, so that it looks like everyone's all the co-hosts are able to send that message to everyone.
Okay. So I will open up the chat to everyone then. Yeah. Everyone. There you go. It's open now.
Yeah, that's just a way for our speakers, if they wanted to just type their email address one more time and put it out to everyone in the chat for contact information. But other than that, I think we're good to go, Jen.
Okay.
Any more questions, or is that the last one?
That is the last one.
Okay. Well, thank you
for your service.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you all for joining us. I know there's a lot of moving parts in putting this all together, so we really thank you all for your time. Thank you to everyone that tuned in. We hope you found this to be useful information. Thanks to Jen on the back end servicing all those questions. Feel free to reach out, connect to us for follow-ups if you need anything else from Calvet down the road. So with that, we'll let you all go. Enjoy the rest of your day, and hope you all take care. Thanks again.
Thanks, Derek.
Thanks, Derek.
Thank
Have a
you.
good one.
You too, guys. Thank you.